Hello for the 10th edition of Sing the Score, and today it's Bono Estente, as we're off to early 16th century Spain. And of course you can only refer to Spain as one country from about then. Until then it had been a series of separate kingdoms, but in 1469 the two greatest of them, Aragon and Castile, were brought together with the marriage of Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile, known because of their very devout nature as Los Reyes Católicos, the Catholic kings and queens. Their children then became the first monarchs of a united Spain in the early 16th century, and one of them, Catherine of Aragon, was married off to the young Prince Arthur, heir to the English throne, first son of Henry VII, but he died after a few months, and she later married Henry VIII, a liaison that would mark English history for decades to come. The union of Aragon and Castile was of course celebrated in the arts, notably in the production of some cancioneros, songbooks, which still exist and which are as much collections of courtly poetry. They show the influence of French forms such as the virelai and rondo, which are made up of two short sections of music over which new text is sung. But these cancioneros also show more indigenous forms such as the villancico, yet another of those musical terms from the time like vilotta and canzone villanesca, that begin with vil, which shows their popular origins. It's the same etymological root that gives us vile, villain in its medieval sense, meaning a
bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway! Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh?
But not villanelle, at least not in her Killing Eve sense. The book this villancico comes from is known as the Palace Songbook, the Cancionero Musical de Palacio. It has about 450 songs in, mostly musically quite simple for 3 to 4 voices. You can imagine the musical notation is a sort of blueprint which performers made highly expressive and idiomatic performances from. Our composer is Juan de Anchieta, more known for his sacred music, probably the first composer of passions. Also wrote a few masses, not very many songs left. Doesn't appear to have been particularly prolific. Trained at Salamanca University and did work in the chapel of Queen Isabella and then the chapels of her 2 children. And there's an interesting side note here that in 1506 he seems to have been in the chapel of her children coming back from a diplomatic visit to the Netherlands, and the whole party was shipwrecked on the southwest coast of England. And it ended up in a royal trip to Windsor where they were greeted by Henry VII. Presumably found the whole thing incredibly cold and damp between sort of January and April, which is when they stayed. But you can't help wondering, did he meet William Cornish, the great English composer of the time? One of them anyway. Did he hear the Chapel Royal? Did he pop over the river there and go and have a look at this Eton choir book collection which was being put together at the time? Some 13 years later, in 1519, Emperor Charles V himself decreed that Anchieta was now too old to work, but should receive his salary of 45,000 maravedis in perpetuity. Having just had a birthday in my 50s myself, and knowing that my head of department here at the University of York is sometimes watching these episodes, I'd just like to state for the record that I would be open to receiving my salary in perpetuity and at least not having to go to any more Zoom meetings. The song by Anchieta that we're going to sing today is absolutely delightful, and it's one of a handful of songs from the Renaissance, and specifically from Renaissance Spain, that's in 5 in a bar. Dave Brubeck, Eat Your Heart Out. Some 60 years later, a writer suggested that Anchieta's songs in 5, there are a few of them, had their roots in the tzotzico, which is a folky form from the Basque country. And as I know that we have a choir from the Basque country group watching these episodes, I would just remind them as they leave their building today to take care, because you should not put too many Basques into one exit. There's no real polyphony in this piece. It's very definitely a melody with accompaniment. But even if you're an alto or tenor or bass, do at some point enjoy singing the top line as well, because it's just such a lovely tune. The performance here features Robin Blaze, the countertenor on the top part, accompanied by the 4 viols of Concordia, and it's from a 1998 CD called All the King's Men. Certainly when we perform it at concerts, we've underlaid all 4 parts and sing all of them.
Con amores mi madre me dormí. Así dormida soñaba lo que el corazón velaba, que el amor me consolaba con más bien que merecí. Adormecióme el favor que amor me dio con amor, dio descanso a mi dolor, la fe con que le serví.
Can you hear the colours on the end of R's on some of those words? Amor, dolor. And how the D towards the end of words can have a soft quality. Dormida and madre. Also, some of the C's have the cedilla under them, which makes them an S sound, so corazón and mereci. Lastly, you can be lazy with the V sound, which is as close to a soft B in Spanish. Serví, soñaba. The 5 in a bar takes a bit of getting used to. It's a 3 and then a 2. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. The main thing is not to force yourself on it, just feel it. If it helps, start walking around in 3, 2, 3 on the left and 2 on the right, although that does make you look a little bit as if you've got the chalfons.
Y bueno, creo que ha tenido un poco de suerte escapar con esa trampilla. La multitud no está nada convencida y puede que la repetición le dé al árbitro un verdadero dilema. Esta terminología de la vieja escuela a mí me parece un poco caduca.
That 5-beat lilt is really quite hypnotic after a while, which is apt because the piece is about the consolation that love finds in sleep. Also, the spirit of this sort of piece is as much dressed or sort of heightened poetry. I mean, obviously a skilled singer could improvise and make this quite an exciting piece melodically and improvisationally speaking. But you can get a lot of the sense of it through just practicing the text, just reading the text against the flow of the music provided by the track. So do enjoy that. I have very happy memories of singing this piece with Ifagilini in Spain, and afterwards coming out to a lovely Spanish bar and having some rioja and prawns in garlic, tapas, gambas al ajillo, and then the time-honoured Fagilini tradition of soprano Anna Crooks leaving her concert shoes in the bar. Again. Almost time for the music. This is episode 10 of Sing the Score, so we do invite you to pop back and catch up on any you've missed. They can all be found at ifagilini.com/singthescore. Just pause this screen if you want to write that down. We have another edition of Sing the Score Extra coming up on Saturday. These are our live and interactive sessions with a guest, a little bit of music history, a little bit of singing together with the mute button on. If you want to go on the list, just email mail@ifagilini.com and we'll send you the invitation. It's £5 for the session. Lastly, a new episode of Choral Chihuahua is now out. This is our podcast that Ifagilini presents with the 16, and the new one is about Thomas Tallis's 40-voice motet Spem in Alium. So hear Eamon Dugan, Harry Christophers and me chatting about that. Over now to Greg for the weather where you are.
Dude, this is not the weather. Esta es el warning. This piece is Con amores, madre, and you have to sing exactly those words and not calamares, madre, because that means my mother's squid. Okay.